What's up, everybody? Today we are going to be doing a giveaway at the end of the video. But today we're going to be going over a little bit of terminology. It is a video that was requested to us by one of our very own subscribers, and I think it's important.
Shout out, Tej. We'll hear it next week.
So, terminology. There are a lot of things that vapors say that a lot of people might not fully understand. For instance, mechanical, mech,
regulated,
parallel, series.
semi-regulated.
So, we kind of want to just throw that out there. So we're just going to go over a few of the terminology things that a lot of people might not understand. And we're just going to start with an RDA.
Rebuildable dripping atomizer, which is going to be your Addy, of course, on the top.
So, atomizer is another one. An atomizer is just any kind of sub-ohm tank, RTA, RDA, RSA, RTA, any kind of device that you, or any kind of atomizer that you put on top of a device
that produces your vape.
Atomizer. So now there are a bunch of different kinds of atomizers. As you just heard, RDA is dripping atomizer. RSA is a squonking atomizer.
Rebuildable squonking atomizer.
Now, an RDTA is a rebuildable dripping tank atomizer. So there is a tank underneath your RDA, which is this guy, our minion. So there's a tank underneath an RDA. Now there's also an RTA, which is a rebuildable tank atomizer. So now your deck is inside of your tank.
Close to a sub-ohm, but not a sub-ohm because you do your own build.
Now, in a sub-ohm tank you basically just screw in a coil. Simplest, easiest way. Most of the time, for a starter. So those are your atomizers. Those are the atomizers that are most frequently used. Now, there are different kinds. There's also another kind of atomizer, which would be a mouth-to-lung atomizer.
Similar and comparable to a cigarette.
So
you hit with your mouth, inhale straight to your lungs. MTL.
Now, a direct lung is where you hit it kind of like a hookah, instead of the traditional cigarette where you hit with your mouth.
And straight to the lungs.
So, those are the difference between direct lung and mouth to lung. Now, there are mouth to lung RDAs, mouth to lung sub-ohm tanks, RTAs. There's mouth to lung almost everything. And most of the time, your pod systems are going to be mouth to lung, like the Orion.
Now, when you get into those, they're great for being stealthy, good for on the go. They don't have a lot of production. And another thing to talk about is these take salt nick juice.
Definitely.
So there's freebase, which is going to be
crack cocaine.
Regular. Oh. I get that a lot. People are like, what the hell? Freebase? And then you have salt nick, which runs, these will be in like 0 to 12 milligrams.
Traditionally.
And then you get into salt nick,
which also goes from 0, but up to
120
milligrams. That is insane. 120 milligrams per milliliter is insane. But they are for 2-pack, 3-pack a day smokers, where we're trying to wean you off of
your cigarettes,
your 50 cigarettes a day. So that's what they're for. When people say there is as much nicotine in a single jewel pod as a full pack of cigarettes, it's because it's for a pack a day smoker. Sorry, that gets me a little hot. But pod and pod system is what this is. Now your pod is
And it's gonna be a lot smaller than a mod.
Yeah, your pod is what goes into your pod system, where you fill up your juice, and or sometimes already filled up pods like the Juul, and they snap into a device.
And you're good to go. Ready.
It's a pod.
And then that's what you get. Less production, stealthy, also keeps cravings down if you have cravings for nicotine.
For sure. So now we go into different types of flowing atomizers. So BF is just a bottom fed atomizer. BF just means a squonking atomizer. Now you have your squonker. So this is bottom fed. You put the juice up in through the bottom of the atomizer.
In a tube, so that's what we call a squonker.
Which is my next terminology. Squonker. Squonk. Squonked.
Some people have been saying a squank, but it is
Squanch.
a squonk.
Squanch.
A squancher.
Those guys are funny. Dapper Dandy and Colorado Kid, we co-hosted on one of the shows, man. The Colorado Kid dad calls it a squancher. Killed me. So that's a squonk mod. This is a squonker. Then you get into your different types of mods. Now, there's so many different kind of mods out there. There's
And
a
some you
regulated.
need to be safe with. No.
Well, you should be safe with all of them.
No, yeah.
But some you need to understand your Ohm's law before getting into. But there's always, before, most starters start with a regulated mod, which is most smock mods. I'm pretty sure all smock mods are regulated. I don't even think they sell mechanical, that I know of, at least.
Yeah, I think they started a mechanical.
So regulated, basically you have a chip in your mod
For
that
safety.
regulates your wattage, your temp control.
Batteries. It pretty much puts everything into moderation for you.
Yeah, so it regulates everything. A regulated mod. Now there are unregulated mods or mechanical mods, mech mods, like your purges and your Bonza kit. So this basically is a button to a battery to an atomizer. No chip, no place to plug in a cord. This is a mechanical mod. Now,
that's where you're going to get a lot of production because you're getting the full potential of the battery. So keep that in mind.
that full 3.7 volts of an 18650, or that full 35 amps of your 21700. So these are where you need to understand your Ohm's law, because they're potentially dangerous for the wrong person. So, which brings us to our next thing, which is your batteries. You have 18650s, 2700s, and 21700s. There's 26650s. There's
18350s.
There's a bunch of different batteries out there, even more than the ones that we just mentioned, that are used for mods. I mean, there are the LiPo batteries that are like the batteries that you use for, your cell phone is most times comes off of a LiPo. And that doesn't explode because you have a chip on it. But when you use a LiPo battery in a mechanical mod, it can be very dangerous.
It has the potential of explosion or heat, like burns, chemical burns, anything like that.
For sure, battery acid is nothing to fool around with, guys. But then you also have a regulated squonker, like the Delta Squonk. Now this has a chip in it, and it also has a button to squonk. So they start taking these mods and modding them and introducing different things and putting chips in squonkers and making mechanical squonkers and making semi-mechanical squonkers. So it is getting more innovative, and they're using more and more things together. So on to the next thing with your mechanical mods, and I mean in any mods, you're always going to have a 510 connector, which is what you screw your atomizer onto. A 510. And there are self-adjusting 510s. There are adjustable 510s.
There are squonking 510s.
And then there are even 510s on your atomizer, which is the male part of the 510. Now, on your 510 pin, there are protruding 510s and not protruding 510s. And all that means is that your pin that is going to touch your battery or on a regulated device, your conductor, is protruding. Now, if your 510 pin on your atomizer is not protruding, you cannot use that on a mechanical mod because it will short out. Now, most atomizers these days that aren't sub-ohm tanks are protruding. 9 out of 10, because safety these days. A lot of people are using that, but there still are RDAs out there that are not protruding.
A lot of sub-ohm tanks don't protrude very much.
You always want to take a look before screwing this onto a mechanical mod that your 510 pin is protruding. Now, if it's not protruding, do not, I say again, do not.
Because you will then be creating a full circuit. The electricity is going to want to go back to ground. So what that's going to do is boom, paya, blow up,
Bang bang.
bang bang. So
So
keep that in mind.
bringing me to the next topic or terminology, parallel and series. Now, parallel batteries are two batteries that are going to be sharing the same volts. So one up and one down is going to keep 3.7 volt on 18650. I'm sorry, 3.7 volts. You're not going to be using the full potential of both batteries. They're just going to be parallel. Now, when you put batteries in series and you put them both facing up and down, you are now using the 8, or with 3.7 it would be what? 8.4? Yeah, 8.4 volts to your atomizer, which is going to be a lot more power. I think when you do Ohm's law and you put the algorithm together, that's something like 220 watts, if I'm not wrong. It's a lot.
It's a lot of watts. So that's when you'll
So that's parallel.
go from starting to really getting to know things.
And then you have stacked, which is like the Mage Mech. We have a stacked piece where you can put two batteries going in the same direction and getting also that 8.4 volts, 3.7 times 2, or in this case with 221/700, it's even a lot higher. So this is when you start getting more advanced.
Higher numbers could lead to a higher risk and higher ways of getting hurt.
Do not try to stack a device if you have not learned and got to know your batteries, which is going to bring us to our next thing. So when you're starting to know more about batteries, you're going to learn more about your coils. Now, there are single coils like this atomizer, and there are dual coils like the rest of these atomizers besides this one. Then there's also mesh style atomizers. Now, these are all basically types of coils that your cotton brings juice to, and then that element is heated to produce vapor. Now, your coil there's a bunch of different types of coils. There are Claptons, there's fused Claptons, there's triple core fused Claptons, there's aliens, there's all kinds of crazy coil art out there where you see people doing insane builds on Instagram that are producing or a better flavor or more clouds, right?
Yeah. Pretty much the lower ohms you get into is where you're going to be producing more clouds.
The lower the resistance.
So when you never want to go too low on your resistance, though, on your ohms, that could be a potentially bad thing, which when you have regulated devices, semi-regulated devices, they will tell you that, no, we're not going to do this.
We're not going to power that.
We're not, it's too low.
This will go down to a .03 build, which is going to give you insane vapor production. But if you try to put a .03 build onto a mechanical mod,
you have a potential of blowing
popping that coil.
up.
You're gonna pop
and
that
you can
coil.
pop your leads. That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna pop your leads. You gotta build a new coil. It's a hassle. So just keep in mind that low ohms can be good, but just never go too low.
Yeah, and once you start building and you learn these things, you're gonna understand that a whole lot more.
You gotta find what you like.
But then going back to the atomizers, each different atomizer has different decks. You know, there are postless style decks, which is going to be like the drop here, which is, I mean, it's kind of postless, it's kind of not, but a postless style deck is, there's no posts on the deck.
There's
and
velocity.
You just toss them in. Yeah, velocity style decks. There's, Kennedy style airflow and index. I mean,
honeycomb airflow.
All these kinds of terminologies that you use. I mean, honeycomb airflow is going to be like the recurve. There's a bunch of, it looks like a honeycomb that your air goes through. And airflow is another term that is used quite often that a lot of people might not understand. Airflow is basically what it says. It's airflow. It's the air flowing through your atomizer up into your mouth to produce vapor.
And that's where you're going to get a lot of your flavor from.
For sure. Now, the last thing we want to go over is a build kit. And when you purchase a build kit, you have every intention of building coils.
That's what it's for.
So in a build kit, you're always going to have, no matter what kind of build kit you get, whether it's a $12 one or a $50 one like Sparky J's, you have a pair of dikes.
Alternative lifestyle pliers. That's what we'll call those. We won't offend anybody.
Sparky J has been to electrical school, if you can't tell. You're going to have some kind of tweezers for either combing out your cotton or just pushing your cotton in.
And then you will get into your ceramic tweezers. As to where when you're building, you can grab your coils and adjust them so they're burning evenly.
And you're going to get a couple of...
without getting a whole bunch of heat on metal.
Because it's made out of ceramic. Then you're going to also get some screwdrivers or a screwdriver with two different, a pull out to change it from Phillips to hex head or even flathead. So there are a bunch of different kinds of grub screws,
which are in the RDAs
screws
to screw on your coils.
Yeah. And then you're always going to get a pair of scissors, which these scissors that come with these Coil Masters and a lot of the other build kits are really cool because they're
sharp,
small, and you pull them apart, and now you have a pair of scissors.
And they're really sharp, so that definitely helps with cutting your cotton.
For sure.
Now, another thing that comes in my kit, which I highly recommend because it makes building a lot easier, is a coily tool. Now, these are going to be your variations from 1.5.
I thought the coily tool was the other little thing that you put your leads into and cut them on the
Is that the coily tool? I thought these were called coily tools.
I think that's I'm sure it's a coily tool to me.
Yeah.
For sure.
So this, you'll grab these out, stick it in, and wrap your coil around it. Now, when these numbers that it comes with is going to range from 1.5 to 4.0.
Which is the diameter of
your coil.
Your coil in millimeters. So 3.5, the highest it goes up to is 4.0. So 4.0 down to 1.0. And the 1.0 is always going to be a mouth to lung coil.
And it's keep it in mind that makes it harder to wick.
For sure.
Another thing that comes in a lot of handy.
A lot of handies?
Yeah, a lot of handies. Comes in handy.
A lot of HJs.
Is one of these things. You know,
looks ohm reader.
It is an ohm reader. Turn it on. It'll tell you what your ohms are. It will fire it for you and everything. Highly recommended. It is a good thing to have.
Especially when you're building for a mechanical mod.
Very true, because they don't tell you. It doesn't tell you.
You're not gonna want
to
to
be
too
safe.
low of a resistance build onto a mechanical mod, like we mentioned before. Now, another thing that's really cool that Sparky J has is a little wire brush. This comes with his build kit, and it's for cleaning coils off that you have already used when you're going to re-wick a coil. Or I'm sure there's a lot of other purposes that people use a wire brush for. And I mean, this build kit that Sparky J here has is a little bit more advanced. You don't need all of this stuff necessarily to build, especially if you have a regulated mod. A regulated mod is going to tell you your ohms, especially like a DNA. But when you're building for a mechanical mod and you don't have a regulated mod, it's really good to have an ohm reader.
True. So you can get a
It's a coil jig. That's what it's called.
A coil jig. That's what it's. Coily tool, coil jig. Right on. You can get smaller renditions of these kits on Amazon. I think the first one I ever bought, I paid like $12 bucks for. You know, they're easy, and it definitely will help you on your journey into this vaping.
For sure, for sure.
So, I mean, with that being said, man,
we just want to go over the giveaway really fast. Giveaway.
I can't say I'm really anything.
What?
Sorry, my phone's talking to us.
What? Anyways, giveaway. Giveaway here. We're going to give away 2 dead rabbits.
RDA, like we discussed earlier.
Rebuildable dripping atomizer. And we're going to give these away as soon as we reach 75 subscribers.
So the first 75 subscribers will be entered, and there will be 2 winners.
Automatically entered into this giveaway. The day we reach 75
is the day that we are going to pick the winners of the Dead Rabbit RDAs.
Randomized winners, of course. Of course, randomized winners. And the only thing that you'll have to do is pay a small FDA fee, which is going to cover your shipping. So, with that being said, like, subscribe to enter.
Check us out. Instagram, Facebook, Clouded Minds channel.
And we are